June 23rd, 2017 at 2:54 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And you are looking at a live view of the Falcon 9 rocket on the SpaceX launch pad 39A, preparing for its second liftoff in just about 10 minutes from now at 3:10 p.m. Eastern Time. Good afternoon, and welcome to the live webcast of the BULGARIASAT1 mission. I'm John Federspiel, a lead mechanical design engineer here at SpaceX, and today we are launching what we hope to be the world's second reflight of an orbital-class rocket from Pad 39A at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Our launch window today is 2 hours with a backup opportunity tomorrow at the same time. We opted to perform a few additional ground system checks prior to liftoff, so we have shifted our launch to be halfway through this window. Well, the good news right now is we are tracking no issues at the moment and are ready for liftoff at 3:10 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Now, Falcon 9 is a two-stage launch vehicle. What you see in the center of the screen, that is the Pad 39A with the launch tower behind Falcon 9. If you look at Falcon 9 itself, right in the center of your image, it is a two-stage vehicle with the first stage on the bottom, joined by a composite interstage with a second stage on top. Both first and second stage are made of aluminum. When you consider the overall height of Falcon 9, from the base of the engines to the tip of the rocket, it's about 230 feet tall. Of that overall height, roughly 60% is what the first stage is comprised of. The first stage is about 140 feet tall total, roughly a 14-foot story building. Now, the first stage you're seeing on your screen is the one that we flew for the Iridium 1 mission, which launched from Vandenberg Air Force Base in January of this year. On that mission of the Iridium 1 mission, we successfully brought the booster back to Earth on our West Coast drone ship. Just read the instructions. This is the very same booster you are seeing on your screen right now, and it is primed to loft the BULGARIASAT1 satellite to geostationary transfer orbit. Today, we are again going to be attempting to recover our first stage via our East Coast drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You, currently stationed off the coast of Florida in the Atlantic Ocean. That's what you're seeing on your screen right now. That is a live view via satellite of our East Coast drone ship out in the Atlantic Ocean. Now, the vast majority of rockets don't even attempt to come back in one piece, much less fly again. It is an incredibly difficult challenge, and we're excited to yet again bring that coverage to you today. Our landing today involves some of the highest heating and structural loads on the first stage that we have seen to date, and it includes a 3-engine landing burn. While this is still a secondary objective, this landing is going to prove to be extra challenging for us. But if we are successful, this will be the first rocket to land on both our East and West Coast drone ships. about T plus 10 minutes and 45 seconds. The good news right now is all systems are nominal. No issues to report right now. When you look at the propellant loading we've been doing on the first and second stage, we are currently full on RP1. RP1 is refined kerosene. That is our fuel for today's mission. We also load on liquid oxygen on the first and second stages. We are continuing to load both stages. First stage is nearly full on liquid oxygen, and our second stage is about 3/4 full on liquid oxygen. We will continue loading liquid oxygen onto the vehicles up until the T-3 minute mark. That's where we will finish topping off liquid oxygen on our first stage. Right now we have just finished loading cryogenic helium on both stages, and we are about to resume liquid oxygen loading. We are launching today from Kennedy Space Center, which means we are working with the Space Center as well as the Cape Canaveral Air Force Station to support today's mission. Both the range as well as the Space Center have given us a green light for today's mission. They have cleared the nearby area around the pad as well as the launch corridor, and they are tracking no issues. You can see it is beautiful, clear skies at Kennedy Space Center. Weather will not be a constraint for today's mission. Weather is go for today's launch. Now, at the forward end of the stage, you just saw an image of our composite fairing. Inside that fairing is where BULGARIASAT is housed. This fairing is what we use to protect the satellite from the aerodynamic forces of ascent. And once we leave most of Earth's atmosphere, that fairing will separate along a seam in the middle, and that fairing will fall back to Earth. Fairing separation will occur shortly after stage separation. Our mission today is taking BULGARIASAT1 to a geostationary transfer orbit. After that satellite will separate from second stage, it will use its own onboard thrusters to perform orbital adjustments over a few weeks, and that will place BULGARIASAT1 into a geostationary orbit at the Bulgarian orbital position. Geostationary orbit is about 35,786 kilometers away from Earth. It is sized such that the orbit period matches the Earth's rotation. That's what you're seeing on your screen right now. Essentially, the satellite is going to appear as a fixed star in the sky from a specific region of Earth, and that satellite will provide constant coverage over that region. BULGARIASAT1 was manufactured by Space Systems Doral out of Palo Alto, California. We have a quick video today to show you exactly what it took to get the satellite ready for today's launch and onto the pad for today's mission. Now, today's launch is Bulgaria's first geostationary communications satellite, and it will provide direct-to-home television service as well as data communication services in the Balkans, as well as other parts of Europe and Africa. For BulgariaSat, this is a first-of-a-kind investment in terms of financial and strategic importance. Building a satellite and launching it is an incredible effort. Today's mission was made possible by the tremendous collaborative effort of the BulgariaSat team, along with its customers and international partners. The good news right now, as we are about T-minus 5 minutes into the count, is that BulgariaSat is go for today's launch. BulgariaSat transition to internal power began the process at about T-minus 35 minutes. It is fully on internal power right now. Fuel loading continues to proceed nominally on both stages. We are just topping up liquid oxygen in this final minute of liquid oxygen load. We are coming up on strong back retraction. You can see at the top of your screen, there are some arms that cradle the rocket next to our strong back. That is the structure to the right side. Those arms open up. The strong back moves backwards 1.5 degrees. And then at this point in time, once we reach the T0, the strong back will fall away as the rocket lifts off. We are coming into terminal count, the last major event being at T-minus 1 minute, where our ground systems will hand over control of the rocket to the onboard flight computer. At that point in time, our onboard flight computer will govern the entire countdown sequence, performing the final checks across Falcon 9, as well as our final ground system checks as we throttle up to make sure we are ready for liftoff. And so we are going to go silent on our end here at the webcast unless you listen in to the final few minutes of terminal counts as we await liftoff of BulgariaSat-1 from Kennedy Space Center at Pad 39A in Florida.
Stage 2 locks closed out. Falcon 9's on internal power. Vehicles in self-align. Stage 1, Stage 2 cryogenium secured.
FTS on countdown 1, announce AFTS is ready for launch.
AFTS is ready for launch.
BC verify Falcon 9 is in startup.
Falcon 9's in startup. Stage 1, Stage 2, press for flight.
LD verify go for launch.
LD go for launch.
.30 seconds and counting. 20.
Falcon 9 is configured for flight.
Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
RC copies.
GC, move to post-launch pad operations.
GC copies.
Secure the pad.
Falcon 9 is on its way to delivering BULGARIASAT1 to a geostationary transfer orbit. All 9 Merlin engines capable of putting out over 1.7 million pounds of thrust. We are coming up on max Q at 1 minute and 18 seconds roughly. We'll be passing through max Q, that is maximum aerodynamic pressure. We just crossed through it. That is one of the highest stressed states on the rocket. So we're over 20 kilometers above the surface of Earth. You can see the engine plume expand at the base of the rocket.
Propulsion still nominal.
That is indicative that we are leaving Earth's atmosphere.
And that chill has begun.
You just heard the call out that the Merlin vacuum engine on second stage has begun chilling in. This means that we are getting ready for 3 major events. Main engine cutoff, MECO 1, stage separation, and second engine start. We'll talk about all 3 of them after they occur. What you just saw there in quick succession was MECO main engine cutoff, followed by stage separation, which was done by 4 pneumatic actuators on the forward end of our first stage. And then on the right side of your screen, you are seeing the glowing red nozzle of our second stage engine. That glowing red nozzle on the second stage is how you can see that we have a good ignition in space. We will have fairing separation in about 15 seconds. Just happened right now. It's like a good separation of the fairing. That was a brief glimpse of BULGARIASAT within the fairing of our second stage. This means we have left Earth's atmosphere, majority of Earth's atmosphere. On the left side of your screen, you are seeing an image from the top of our first stage. You see 2 grid fins in the sides of that image. We use those grid fins to guide the stage through the atmosphere to the drone ship. Now those grid fins do look small, but they are about 5 feet long, about 4 feet wide. So they're rather large as we use them to guide ourselves back. You are also seeing occasional puffs come out from the side of the stage. Those are cold nitrogen thrusters that we use to help orient the stage. Now coming up in about a minute, we have our entry burn of the first stage. This is a 3-engine entry burn. For today's mission, since we are landing on the drone ship, we do not have a boost back burn. We only have an entry burn and a landing burn. 2 burns total for today's mission for the first stage. As I mentioned previously, our entry coming in for first stage is one of the highest heating and structural loads. So this is a very challenging first stage maneuver to land on our drone ship. Of course, I still love you.
Of course, I still love you has AOS.
You just heard confirmation that our drone ship has acquisition of signal, AOS, of the first stage as it's coming back.
First stage AFTS.
Stage 1 entry burn is started.
This is ignition of the entry burn. This burn will last for about 20 seconds. 3-engine entry burn on the first stage on the left.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
We have a good shutdown, confirmation of a good shutdown of the first stage entry burn. Now, it is normal for us to see some of the soot appear on the camera screen. We may also occasionally lose coverage of the first stage entry as we come in through the horizon. That is all perfectly normal. This is expected to lose the signal from stage 1. We will have signal acquisition as we come closer to the drone ship. Meanwhile, you're seeing on our second stage the engine burning. This burn will last
Stage
about
1,
8 minutes,
on it.
30 seconds. And then we will have a coast phase for the second stage before we do our final burn to put BULGARIASAT into a geostationary transfer orbit.
Second stage AFTS has saved.
We're coming up in about 30 seconds on our landing burn from the first stage. About 45 more seconds for this stage 2 burn.
Landing burn is started.
The confirmation of the landing burn has started.
Landing legs have deployed.
And it looks like we may have lost some of the footage coming in for the landing ship, coming in for the drone ship. We do expect to lose signal from the drone ship as we come in. If you've watched previous missions, that is not uncommon for us to lose coverage of the first stage coming back to the drone ships. The rocket vibrations coming into something like that can cause some issues. And it looks like we did have a good recovery of the first stage. Video feed did come back. That is touchdown for first stage on the drone ship. This was a 3-engine landing burn. Most challenging landing to date. Successfully touched back down on Of Course I Still Love You. Meanwhile, we have a good orbit for second stage. We are at a good parking orbit for second stage. We will be in coast phase till about the T plus 27 minute mark. So we're going to leave you right now with that image of our animation of second stage orbiting around Earth. We're going to come up on our second burn for the second stage in about 19 minutes or so. And we'll be back shortly to bring you final coverage of second stage engine relight as well as separation of BulgariaSat. We did have a successful landing of the first stage on the drone ship. So secondary objective complete. We are still very focused on the primary objective. We're just over 26 minutes into today's mission, and we are coming up on our second burn of our second stage engine as we get ready to put BULGARIASAT1 into a geostationary transfer orbit. We're intermixing between showing you a live image of the aft end of our second stage, looking at our Merlin vacuum engine. And we're also showing you an animation of where stage 2 is over Earth. This burn will start in about 10 seconds. And we have ignition of the second stage engine. This is a 1-minute burn of our second stage engine. Everything looking nominal on the Merlin vacuum. We are throttling right now to adjust the acceleration of the satellite. Again, this burn is going to put BULGARIASat into a geostationary transfer orbit. Shut down in about 10 seconds. We have shut down. And that looks like a good orbit for our second burn of our second stage engine. Right now you are seeing the glowing red nozzle of the Merlin vacuum engine cooling down as it radiates out to space. If you're just tuning in, we have had so far a nominal mission. First stage placed second stage into its targeted position and then successfully landed back on our drone ship. That was the first time we've had a drone ship, a booster. That's the first time we had a booster land on both our East and West Coast drone ship. Meanwhile, our second stage has performed 2 burns, placing the BULGARIASat into a super synchronous orbit, eventually deploying the BULGARIASat in about 6 minutes from now, and then which we will cover for you shortly. So right now, everything looks nominal from outer space. We are in a good orbit for our second stage right now. And we are going to be coming back in about 5 minutes as we cover payload separation of BULGARIASat from the forward end of our second stage. That is actually an image of BULGARIASat at the forward end of the second stage. So we'll be back shortly.
Acquisition of signal, HPK. Microphone loss of signal expected.
Just over 34 minutes into today's mission. Right now, our second stage with BulgariaSat on top is in a super synchronous orbit. It had 2 nominal burns, picture perfect, and we are just awaiting payload separation. Payload separation should occur in about 10 seconds. In a few moments, you will see BulgariaSat separating from the second stage. That is BulgariaSat in your screen right now, what you see. And we have payload separation. It's like a nominal payload separation. Right now, BulgariaSat will begin a number of health checks, deploy its solar arrays, and then begin its own orbital maneuvering to put itself into a final geostationary orbit over the BulgariaSat, over the Bulgarian orbital position. Sorry. And so with that, we have had a successful landing of the first stage on the drone ship. That was one of our highest entry heating as well as structural loads and a 3-engine landing burn. So that was very challenging. We also had a successful launch and deployment of BulgariaSat to a geostationary transfer orbit. So that is going to conclude our webcast today. We would like to thank BulgariaSat, the range for supporting us, Cape Canaveral Air Force Station, as well as Kennedy Space Center. We'd also like to thank the FAA for supporting us, and you, the viewer, for tuning in. Today marked the second reflight of an orbital rocker, of an orbital class rocket, as well as the first time, we do love our firsts around here, the first time a rocket has landed on both our East and West Coast drone ships. We do have another launch coming up on Sunday afternoon, so please come back and check us out, spacex.com/webcast. We'll be providing you coverage of our Iridium 2 mission, and as well as our social media channels. So stay with us on Twitter, Instagram, as well as Facebook, and we'll provide updates for you there. If you would like to join us up here and join the crew to make all this happen, make sure you also check out spacex.com/careers. Thank you again for tuning in, and we will see you all on Sunday.